Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So if you are new here, we talk about all things homesteading, homemaking, and just the journey to a slower, more simple life. And today I have all of my plants that I planted, and the job we're going to be working on together is separating what we can. So some of them have two, some of them have even more that need to be separated, and the reason we need to do this is so that they can actually grow to their fullest potential. If we left even two in this container to try to grow, neither of them would do very well, and in the long run it is better to have less of a type of plant than a whole bunch that did not grow to their best capabilities. Even at the end, when it's time to harvest fruit and stuff, you'll get much more fruit from one really established and big plant than several meh plants. So we are going to separate what we can, because I still have room under the grow light, and anything I don't have room for I will have to unfortunately pick, which I've already talked about, but it is so hard. Even though I know it's necessary, I wish I could just not even think about it and just know it's for the greater good, but it feels so hard to, take that opportunity of growth away from a plant, even though it helps the whole thing in the long run. But that is what we're going to be doing. I also have to water our plants. I just have a water bottle, and I used a sewing needle and I poked holes, and it works perfect actually for watering. It's like rain. It works really well for me for watering my delicate little seedlings, because if you use something too forceful, like if you just put it right under the faucet or something like that, it could damage them when they're so small. So let's get started with that task. So I'm going to give the soil that has nothing in it yet a good water before I transplant, because they haven't been watered. I separated the soil out a couple days ago, and you really need to keep soil, even if there's nothing in it, watered as well, because if you don't, it'll just turn into dirt. So the difference between dirt and soil is, dirt is what you think of when you're thinking of like dirt roads on a fairground or the dirt next to a street. There's no nutrients in it. That's why it's just dirt. Nothing's growing in it. It's just kind of almost sandy, and that's what that is. Soil has nutrients in it for plants to grow, and so it has nutrients and it has water, because what do plants need to grow? Definitely water. So you want to keep your soil well watered, even if there's nothing growing in it, so that it doesn't dry out. Water helps keep the tiny microbiome that's going on in the soil. It keeps it thriving, keeps it healthy, keeps it from dying essentially. So there you go. If you're gentle enough, you should be able to just pull it right out. If you're transporting seedlings from one container to another, you want to be very careful to not just yank it, because it needs its root system. And if we mess with its root system, especially this early on, it is not going to be great news for your plant growth overall. With tomatoes as well, you can really bury them deep, because I don't know if you can see, but there's little hairs that come off the side of everywhere on a tomato plant, and that means it can grow roots from anywhere on itself, and that definitely comes in handy for when you are trying to make a strong plant, because if you bury it really, really deep, it'll have a lot of roots that will establish early on. And that's good news for making it be a not leggy plant. So while I'm doing this task, I thought it could be a nice time to talk about something that's kind of been on my mind that I thought could be nice to share. Maybe others out there have this on their mind as well. But just the feeling of purposefulness in our society today. I think, unfortunately, a lot of people, especially in this day of age, are feeling like they have no real purpose or are struggling to find their purpose. I know even myself, whereas I have very specific goals and dreams, and I really feel like I do have a good understanding of what my purpose is or what I want to make it be, I still have days that I struggle and I feel like, what really am I meant to do? What am I supposed to be doing? And it makes me feel quite upset and feel lost, and I can only imagine what it's like for a lot of people. I feel like that is a symptom of just our society right now, where, we're being told that everything can be taken care of for you, essentially. I know that I work in a school, and so I do see some things firsthand, whereas kids are not writing as much, they're not reading as much. They have technology now that, reads things to them and autocorrect writes things for them. The society of the very fast pace, like you can Uber Eats or you can, just go get fast food. And in no means am I trying to say that progress is a completely negative thing. There's a lot of positive things that come with the progress we have made kind of as humanity on the scientific level, I guess you could say. But a symptom of all this progress is where does that leave us as people? If we have things doing everything for us, then what do we do? I think that is a question that is starting to kind of come up and be more relevant in people's minds. I think there's also a big kind of push on society right now that the main goal or priority of different things should be to just have fun and just make the most of right now, where I see some positives to this. I also see the negatives that can come from this, that if we're thinking only in the spur of the moment and only for the right now, and we don't really think about our goals, then where will that leave us 1, 5, 10 years in the future? I think it's important to be able to be spontaneous and be able to have fun and enjoy life overall in that way, but at the same time having goals, having priorities, making time to dedicate to your forward motion in those goals and priorities. But I think that's just it. Not a lot of us anymore have these future goals that are in their brains. A lot of us are struggling to find that. I think that if you're here on this channel with me, you are probably very much like myself, and you might have a better understanding of what your goals might be. You seem to have the appreciation for the little things that, make up the root of life, really, at the end of the day, such as, like I said, living more slowly just to enjoy the little things, and living simply, not caring about, what might be pushed as the best product or the best brand, or this is the best way to live your life, just taking in every moment for what it is and trying to make the most of it. Really seeing the need for appreciation in things like home cooked meals, like, a nice clean home, just the things that I think are forgotten about now. And I guess I just wanted to also say that, even though you're probably similar to me and have those things in mind, it doesn't mean that we don't have those days where we get into that place of, what am I doing? What am I trying to do? What is any of this for? What am I really here for? What am I supposed to do? I feel lost. Even if we have our goals and our dreams, we can feel like that sometimes. And I just want to say it's okay to feel like that, and it doesn't last forever. You get right back into it. I guess something I just hope to find out in the future is, how do I, help the state of our world right now? How do I help people who, a lot of the time, young like me in my generation, I'm not exactly sure if I'm a Gen Z or a millennial. I'm 24, so I'm right kind of on the cusp of those, I think. But a big issue with my generation specifically is such a lack of understanding of who they want to be and how they want to go about life and what they want it to be for. So I do hope that me sharing the things I care about and I think is important does reach some people that may feel lost and unsure of what should and can be important, of the things that just make the world go round. There's so much beauty in every little thing, and it makes me very sad to think that we're directioning toward a outlook that would never even want to stop and think about, the beauty of how a seed can turn into a seedling and then a plant, and that it feeds us. Or just being able to stop and look at the clouds and say, what a beautiful day. I'm just gonna sit under this blue sky and listen to the birds. And I will fully admit, I am not caught up in this way of technology. I am one of these people that has to tell myself, you've spent way too much time in front of the screen. You need to go enjoy what's really out in front of you. I had to delete TikTok off my phone. I did have a TikTok because I was making kind of very aesthetically pleasing little videos of just kind of some of the things that I like to do, like baking and cooking, hoping to reach certain audiences on TikTok to be able to kind of inspire into this frame of thinking, into this kind of lifestyle. But I had to delete it off my phone myself because my friend would send me videos and I would watch them, to kind of an obligation to see what she's sharing with me, since she's taking the time to share something. And I would find myself getting on there and getting stuck in this loop. And with me saying everything that I'm saying, if I can get stuck in, not to sound like I'm, above anybody else, but with somebody with awareness of how awful this cycle is, I would still get caught in this loop too. Just think of the younger generations, younger than me, or teenagers, even younger, I see on social media, and they're getting caught in these constant loops. So of course they're going to struggle finding what's meaningful and what's purposeful to them when they're not able to go and start discovering that for themselves. They're stuck on a screen. They're stuck on things that are being almost force-fed to them. Of course, it's their choice to be on it, but is it really? This is definitely the world that is trying to be pushed right now, that, to be very online and to really have all these modern technologies that can take care of things for us. And I don't see anything wrong with, say, those robot vacuums. I don't have one, but some of these things seem alright. A lot of technologies that we have now that are gonna be primitive soon were new age technologies at one point to our ancestors. it's not a bad thing to advance. It's definitely nicer to have a automatic mixer than to have to hand mix everything in the world. So it's not all bad. But at the same time, we just have to be wary of how much do we take off of ourselves and put on these technologies, or put on these ways of outsourcing it from other places and other people. How much should we really take off of ourselves? Because at the end of the day, what will we be left with if we don't take pride and find importance in, like I always say, where our food comes from, what our food is on a health level, what we value in our home, what we want to teach our younger generations. All of these are questions that we should be thinking about our personal answers for, because I'm not saying there's a right answer. I think that's definitely going to be different and look different for everybody and every family. But I think it's important to think about it. I think it's important to not just, let's say, this is out of my hands, I'm just going to hand everything off to who knows what. We saw a little bit during COVID of how there can be shortages, and we see more frequently than a lot of us know of how there can be things that are not so desirable, such as, salmonella getting into our lettuces. And then there's whole recalls and stuff like that. The systems that are in place are not perfect. And I'm not saying they shouldn't exist, and I'm not saying that, you shouldn't use them at all, but it's just, I think, important to think about these systems. So the message I just kind of want to take away from this conversation is just think about the things that are important to you, the things that you care about, and really consider, what do you want to give away? What do you want to not be in your power? And is it really worth it just to, make something easier? Because why do we need to speed through everything? Why do we need to have a whole bunch of ways to just kind of make life go by faster, or make these tasks go by faster? What kinds of values do you find important? What things about life really inspire you and make you feel whole? I think it lies somewhere in between fulfilling desires within ourselves, but also fulfilling things for others, something outside of ourselves. I think it's really important to not look just within ourselves, but look towards the legacy that we can leave. Alright, so this chat has been nice. I know I can kind of be rambly, and I don't quite know how to put all my thoughts together in the most coherent and cohesive way yet, but that is a skill I am working on. I find it important because I think something that is a purpose for myself is to be able to share these kinds of knowledges and perspectives with others, because if I just keep them to myself, I can only really help myself. So public speaking, I guess, isn't really public, but speaking in general is something I'm practicing on. So I hope that you got something out of our conversation today. I hope you enjoyed just kind of this relaxing as I pot plants into separate containers and had this nice chat. I hope you got something from it. I hope you can go and think even more about it on your own, and let me know any thoughts you have. I'm excited to see you in the next video. Until next time, bye-bye!